today, again, we are taking a look at Unit 3, Lesson 16, and we're going to work the lesson through bubble number 7 today. And again, we are still looking at conditionals. These are statements that are only run when certain conditions are true. We looked at conditionals in the last lesson with keyboard inputs, using our up and down arrows or certain letters, things like that. We are going to be applying that same idea, but we are going to be applying it to mouse or mouse pad. Excuse me. Mouse or mouse pad controls. You have all of your new code listed here in bubble number 1. Again, these are all clickable links if you want to take a look at them further and learn about them in more detail. As always, when you are done studying a bubble, make sure you hit the continue or finish button. All right, so bubble number 2 is an if-else prediction. Read the following program, paying special attention to the if-else block on line 10. After thinking about it, or maybe asking some questions, write down your predictions and run the code to see what the program does. Things to think about. What happens when you press the space bar? What happens if you don't press the space bar? So again, it tells us to take a look at our line 10 of code, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So it says if key down space. Inside that, then it says balloon scale equals balloon scale plus 0.02, else balloon scale equals balloon scale minus 0.01. So, if else. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, where are my math people? What is an if-else statement? If this, else. Well, for this one, again, it is a prediction. So the only way to get it wrong is to not do it. But what are some things that we think might happen if I press the space bar? What do you guys think is going to happen if I press the space bar? I need one person to give me an answer. Anybody?
Grow.
It's going to what?
Get bigger.
It might get bigger. Okay, so what happens then? So we think if I press the space bar, it gets bigger. So what happens if I don't press the space bar?
It will shrink.
Maybe. Okay. So our prediction is if I press the space bar, it gets bigger. And if I don't press the space bar, it will shrink. I don't know if that's right or not, but it is a prediction, and I have answered both the questions. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see what's going on. I always like to turn on my grid, and I'm going to go ahead and hit run on this program. And it's getting smaller, but now I'm going to hit my space bar. Smaller, and I hit the space bar, and that's exactly what's going on. When my finger is not on the space bar, it's deflating or getting smaller. And when my finger is on the space bar, it's getting bigger, like it's being blown up. Huh. That is kind of cool. And good job, by the way, Daniel, for being able to predict that correctly. All right. So, moving on. I don't remember if I shared my audio for video purposes. So let me make sure that I actually did that. There we go. Sharing the sound. No, I had not.
Conditionals, like if statements, are great for getting something to happen when a condition is true. But what if the condition is false and we want something else to happen? That's when the if-else statement comes in handy. At first, an if-else statement looks a lot like a regular if statement. But by clicking the plus button down here, we can add another condition, the else. The if-else statement will do one thing if the Boolean expression is true, and will do something else if the Boolean is false. In this case, we're going to create a sprite in the middle of the screen. Next, we'll add a draw function, followed by a white background. Now we'll add an if-else statement by dragging out the if block and clicking the little plus button to give us an else. Let's give the conditional something to check, like whether the right arrow button is being pressed. If the right arrow is being pressed, then the sprite will go right. But if the right button isn't being pressed, then the Boolean will be false and the code in the else section will run. In this case, it will move the sprite to the left. Finally, we'll draw the sprite and see what develops. Now that you can use the else statement, your programs can perform twice as many actions and reactions as before.
All right. So again, ladies and gentlemen, anytime you want to go back and watch that again, you are welcome to. It is bubble number 3 in this lesson. All right, so let's take a look at bubble number 4. It says reverse the gears. These gears already spin in one direction when you press the space bar. Now you'll want them to spin in the other direction when the space bar isn't pressed. Do this. Make the gears spin in the opposite way when the space bar is not being pressed. Okay, well, I am not sure what this is doing anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and take a look at my code first. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and hit run. And it just kind of sits there. If I press my space button, we can see the gears rolling. But now, as in the instructions, it said, make the gears spin the opposite way when the space bar is not being pressed. Okay, I can do that. So I'm going to need an if-else statement. So I already have my if statement done for me. What I need to do is add an else statement. In other words, I want to be able to reverse the gears if I am not pressing the space bar. So if the key is down, then this is going to happen. But if that key is not down, then, and again, I just need to set my variables. I'm going to have one for the blue gear, one for the green gear, one for the red gear. It looks like they're all using math, but again, I want them to be opposite. So it's a minus, a plus, and a plus. I'm going to reverse those because that's what I want them to have happen. So I'll have a plus on top, a minus in the middle, and a plus on the bottom. I am now going to pull in my sprite rotation. And again, I'm going to have to change the names of my sprites, but that's okay. Sprite rotation. Sprite rotation. All I'm doing is recreating the code from above in reverse. Sprite rotation. Sprite rotation. And sprite rotation. Now, my blue gear, capital G for gear, used to be -1, so now I'm going to make it +1. My green gear used to be +1, so now I'm making it -1. And my red gear to be +1. Oh, okay, my bad. I need to be -1. So I'll just make this plus a -1 because plus a negative is negative anyways. I'm having to redo all my code again. All right, so now I'm double checking. Oh, I forgot to rename this one here. All right, so let's go ahead and run this again. So now they're going the same direction like they were before. Great. But now if I push down on my spacebar key, you can see they reverse directions. So now, before, if you recall, they only moved when I pressed the space button. And now they move in two different directions depending on which way my space bar is, whether it's pressed or not. All right, moving on to bubble number 5. It says control the gears. Here is the same program with one small difference. Do this. Read the program carefully, especially line 13, to figure out how to control the gears. Run the program and test whether or not you were correct. Make the gears spin the opposite direction when there is no user input. All right. Opposite direction with no user input. So if mouse down, then that happens. All right, so let's see how this runs. If I reset and run it, nothing happens. If I press my mouse key, oops, didn't mean to do that. If I press my mouse pad, they run. All right, but I want to get them to run in the opposite direction if nothing's happening, okay? So pretty much I'm going to do what I did before, which is kind of cool because it's pretty easy to do. Now, I am going to say this. One of the things that I really haven't talked a lot about because we use our blocks a lot, but if you go into your show text, it is easier to cut and paste these things just so that you are aware. I am not going to show that, but if that is something that you're interested in, please feel free to do that. So again, I need to make my 3 gears. They would go in the opposite direction if nothing is happening. Okay. My sprites, you know what? We're going to run out of time. So I am going to go ahead and do the show text maneuver. All I'm going to do is grab all of this, do a copy. I'm going to do a paste. And then I'm going to reverse these. So I'm going to change this to plus. I'm going to change this one to minus. And I'm going to change this one to minus as well. And now that I did that, I'm going to go back to blocks to make sure everything is the way I want it to be. So I have blue gear, I have reversed, green gear, I have reversed, red gear, I have reversed. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do a reset and a run. So now you can see again, they're running on their own. And when I press my mouse key, my mouse pad, they reverse themselves. Okay? So finish. And again, you could have done that the other way by dragging everything in. I am just kind of speeding things up for the purposes of time. All right, here is a program that draws a balloon down the screen. Make a balloon go up and down according to whether or not the user is pressing the mouse. Add code that checks whether or not the mouse is being pressed. Move the balloon up if the mouse is down. Otherwise, the balloon should move downward. Okay? So, all right, so we need an if-else statement. if our mouse is down, otherwise, oops, create my variable, balloon dot y equals balloon dot y minus 1. Okay. Oh, there is something wrong with my code because it's not reversing itself. Oh, I know what I did. These are backwards. I always forget that y up is negative. There it goes. So now it's falling normally, and if I press my mouse, oops, if I press my mouse, oh my gosh, come on. If I press my mouse pad, then it goes up. There you go. Please don't forget that your y is always going to be a reversed situation. So that is a very easy mistake to make. Heck, I made it, and I teach this class. So there it is. All right, so finish. And then you guys can finish up bubble number 7 on your own. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this video will be available on the website. In bubble 7, you're working with world.mousex button. Follow the directions, and good luck to you.